not do it, the festival chorus. That was our last time to be really singing together.
I know.
I mean, you know.
Ming said,
because it was in that interim period between BCCO starting or ending and beginning, and
I know.
yeah. So no, I was excited about doing the Handel with Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are any of you doing the Bach? I know Jerry is. Jerry, have you disappeared? Or no, maybe it's not Jerry who's doing it. I know a few people from BCCO are doing it.
Are you talking about the Magnificat?
I see why nobody's listening to me, because I was muted. So first, I wanted to confirm that we did the foray with Arlene in 2007.
Right.
okay, that feels right. Yeah.
And it must have been the spring, because we left for France in the winter, in the fall. Yeah, I've learned now to put the date in my music, but I didn't then, but I found an old program.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
And
so, Amy, were you feeling slighted by us when you were yammering on and we were ignoring you?
Everybody's ignoring me. I won't hold it against you any longer, though. And the Bach, yeah, I'm doing the Bach. Jan is doing the Bach. Ruth Collier is doing the Bach.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry. Oh no. Wait a minute.
Jared, not
Jerry. And I feel like there might be one more person, but I can't. It's not actually a lot of people. It's only about 25 or so.
Oh, really? Yeah, because that actual chorus is small, I think. You know,
is it an audition chorus?
No, it's not. No.
Boy, they are very good. I mean, I don't
know. You know, I sat next to at one of the Oakland Sings thing.
Yeah.
I sat next to a woman who had this glorious alto voice, and she was singing with them. And when Derek got that job, I wrote to him, and I couldn't remember her name, but I gave him a physical description of her, and I said, I hope she's with you, and if she's not, ask around and get her back, because she was, oh my gosh.
So they're doing a few virtual choruses too, you know. The first one, and you know, so the first one, I think it looked like there were 15 or 16 people, but there were actually fewer, because one woman sang 3 parts. She sang everything. She sang everything but bass. And I know at least a couple people said they had never sung it before, because it's going fast. You know.
Which thing are you talking about?
With the Bach D minor Mass.
Yeah, but with
Derek. Oh, it's Vallejo Church Choir, I think.
No, Vallejo, no, community chorus. Yeah. I think that's
maybe Choral Society. Vallejo Choral Society. It's
I don't remember the exact name of it. No.
The Vallejo Choral Society.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. So are they in fact connected with a church or no?
I didn't get, my only information was this lovely alto I was telling you about, and I didn't get the impression from her, you know, that's what it was.
Anyway, they are going fast. I mean, I did sing it in 1995. I don't think I could keep up, especially, you know, because I'm not spending a lot of time. If I had never sung it before, it would be daunting.
Right. Well, that's not an easy piece of music anyhow. I mean, yeah, I am really missing having all of your voices around me. If I snooze off in the beginning, right, and don't get that opening note, oh man, I'm like scrambling to.
This does confirm that it is good to have other singers and a conductor.
I used to sit near you, Sheila. Remember those days?
I do, Ellen, and Amy would be in front of us or with us. Yeah. Hi, Ellen.
Okay, we're going to get started here.
Oh, hi, Ming.
Welcome everybody back to Monday night with BCCO. And look at that. I can see 20 people on the screen. That feels different for some reason. Any case, so what we're going to do is we're going to go with a warm-up and then, of course, look at the fifth movement like we started last week, the Agnus Dei. And then we're going to look a little bit at the Liberame. And the Liberame is one of the movements that we've talked about was added last. The two movements with baritone solos were added last. And so it's a very special movement, but of course has choral singing as well, in addition to the baritone soloists. So it's going to be, I think, some really lovely repertoire. So we're going to get started with a warm-up first. I'm going to start the warm-up and then go into the Agnus Dei. So everybody's standing up. We're going to start some physical warm-up first. As always, as you know, singing is with your entire body. And I don't know about you, but I sit in front of a computer screen much more than I want to. And so what we're going to do is sort of get our bodies relaxed and loose. So I want you to step in place for a little bit to really get your thighs engaged a little bit, your knees involved. I'm hitting my piano as it is. And then what I want you to do is put your feet on the ground, but rock side to side. And this is just for awareness of what it's like to have your weight on either foot and what it is like to have the weight centered in your body, okay? Then the same thing, we're gonna have the weight centered, our feet sort of shoulder width apart, really look at them, make sure they're not too close, not too far apart, really shoulder width apart. And this time, instead of rocking side to side, we're going to raise up on our tippy toes a little bit as much as we can and slowly come back down. And again, what our goal is not to tilt, not to shift our weight back. If you, I don't know if you can see this, I'm wearing black too, so it doesn't really help. But when you put your weight on the back of on your heels, your hip actually tilts in a way that's actually not good for your singing. It sort of engages the muscles that you need to be relaxed and loose for singing. So you want to have your weight on the balls of your feet, and you can bounce up and down a little bit, just really feel like you're centered. Now this is really the core, just like when they talk about how your spine is, how your posture is from the feet up and everything. Getting a good strong core is like the roots of a tree. The stronger it is, the more strength that you have to build your vocal apparatus, the support that you need. So from this position, we have our knees a little bit bent, our weight on the balls of our feet, and then of course the weight centered in between the 2 feet. We're going to twist a little bit from side to side, twist, and what ends up happening is that you should start to feel some of those muscles, your intercostals, your viscera, starting to loosen up a little bit. And just like yoga or any other physical exercise, you want to be more aware of the muscles that are being engaged. And then you can start to sway around a little bit like a palm tree. And when you lean back, touch your abs and feel them. They're pretty much engaged. So when you lean back, you can really feel your abs engage. So we don't want to have that happen. Stand straight up and then feel like you have the ability to take a breath right in, okay? This time, let's roll our shoulders around, roll your neck around, roll your head around, as I should say. And then we're going to start opening up some of the smaller muscles. Open up your jaw and put your hands by your cheeks and really feel it come down and the natural shape of the up and down. I don't want to get too here, but you really want to go up and down and really not think about smiling too much or spreading. We call it spreading the vowel. Because if you think about the physics, the longer you elongate the tube, the richer and darker the sound will be. And we want a resonant sound, but we also want to have length in our tube. So sometimes we extend our lips a little bit. Sometimes we think about more up and down. Okay, good. So with that, I want you to put your thumb in your belly button and put your hand down after that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some nice slow breaths, just like engaging the muscles. We're not necessarily doing it on a rhythm or whatnot. Just when we breathe in, you just want to connect to those muscles and reacquaint yourselves with controlling them, whereas most of the day you were not. Most of the day, this was completely natural and not thought about. And now you're going to be actively thinking about those muscles and what it feels like to engage them and relax them, what it feels like to breathe in and out. So when we take control, that we have as much facility as possible. And so we're just going to start to do this. And because we are not sitting right next to people, we can use our arms and our entire wingspan. What I want you to do is we're going to take a breath and you're going to go, and then hold it out like this while you exhale. So I don't want you to think about collapsing as you exhale. I want you to inhale and then maintain that posture as you exhale, okay? So let's breathe it in, okay? And here we go. And breathe in and then out. Maintain that posture and bring your hands down. Relax a little bit, loosen them up a little bit. And this time, I want you to feel like your arms, feel your breath be like your arms. Down, then out. So when we go, we're really thinking about down, then out. So here we go again. Let's give ourselves a little hug. Say, you know what? It's okay. It's been a long day, but we're going to relax and get into some singing. And we're going to take a breath in together and go. And then out. Now, again, we don't want to think about collapsing our posture when we breathe out, which is why we do that. But when we breathe out, you're actually going to be thinking about the opposite of what we just did for coming in. You're going to be thinking about gathering in and then pulling up. And so your breath goes down and out, and then it goes in and up. Okay? So let's try that again without any arms. But I want you to think about engaging those muscles really down and out and out, in and up. Now, let's do this slowly without any rhythm on your own time. And so really thinking about those muscles that engage, thinking about down and out, in and up, down and out, in and up. And so for me, I can feel the small of my back. I can feel those sides really engaging as like a second, when the breathing goes, is really expanding down this way and then all the way around. And so you really want to feel that. See if you can feel that. Let's just breathing in and up. And great. Now let's control this for now that we're engaging our muscles a little more, engage them with purpose, and we're going to try to do some rhythms. Now, what I want to do is I'm just going to play some music. And what I want you to do is go shh, 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 along with the music that I'm doing. Okay? So again, I don't play like this. I'm not playing shh, 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 but I'm playing shh, shh. And I just want you to breathe in on your own time. You don't have to think about doing a rhythmic quick breath, but I do want you to engage the muscles and really feel the shh, shh, not listening, because I have a tendency to do that. I have a tendency to listen to the shh, but I want you to really focus on the breathing and what it feels like more than what you hear, okay? So I'm just gonna play along and improvise for a little bit. And I'm gonna change the rhythm, the tempi, that's the whole point of this. I'm gonna change the tempi, but see if you can really give those pulses along with the beats of the music, okay? So really, really nice. As it gets slower, to me, I really feel that engagement. Okay, so now we're gonna try to do a little sigh. Let's do a sigh, echo, and really feel, you can feel the space. We don't have as large of a space as our normal rehearsal venues. And so see if you can mimic that whole space even in our houses. And for a sigh. And again, you want to start, especially male voices, in falsetto and go all the way through. This is supposed to be airy, relaxed, and really like you're just giving away all the tension of the day. Ready? And one more time. And. Okay, let's do some vocalizing a little bit. No, sorry, rhythmic exercises. We're going to do the consonants first. We're going to go so a j sound followed by a v sound. Okay, j is and I want you to feel like. That's really funny. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really itching my ears because it's buzzing in my ears when I do this. But I want you to go with your arms, right? And let's try that again. And then we're going to do unvoiced consonants, which are and what we're going to do is the same thing. Connect them. And this is for the same thing. To try to feel like the consonants aren't punctuating, but they are really connecting. Ready? Here we go. And you can use your hands too. Ready? And excellent. Let's do a little exercise. But I want you to go nivu, nivu. I want you to think that the consonants are 50% of the sound and that the vowels are 50% of the sound too. Nice and forward and very connected. Okay, here we go. So nivu, 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 ni. And as always with this exercise is to help get us in our mask. So it can be very nasal. It's for exercise only to achieve a certain result. It's not singing, it's an exercise. Here we try. And now, we're going to do a different exercise right now. And this is solfege exercise. And we're going to go do, mi, so, mi, do. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to give you some of the notes sometimes. I'm just going to play chord progression. And then I want you to go do, mi, so, mi, do. And then I'll play it afterwards and then we'll sing it again. So if I were to do the exercise, I would do this. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Do, mi, so, mi, do. And that's basically to get our ears on what we call the tonic. When we're in a certain key, the tonic is the key, the home key. If we say we're in F major, the tonic is F major chord. And so we should all be able to try to find the notes of the tonic chord. So if I do this. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Again, if you don't get it the first time, then I play it and we sing it together for the second time. Here we go. So this is a chord. Let's try this chord. Let's try to sing it together. I'll give you the notes. I How many of you are correct? Let's sing it together. Do, mi, so, mi, do. Okay, how about this one? Let's try something a little bit harder. Okay, let's hear what it sounds. It's pretty high. And sing it together. Do, mi, so, mi, do. And then one last one. And then here it is. Sing it together and do, mi, so, mi, do. And if you know the Kodai hand signals, this is do always, this is mi, and this is so. And so we can learn some of these things. But when we talk about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, in a certain key, they're always the same function. So do is always that main note of the chord, the bottom of the tonic chord. And when we have mi, it's always like we sing Three Blind Mice. Three blind mice, mi, re, do. Mi is always the third of the chord, and then so is so, do. It's always the 5. And so when we hear these codes, I've heard a couple times now, people are having sometimes hard time finding the notes, and you're not surrounded by 30 other people that are singing the note with you. And so we're going to start to build in some ear training a little bit, so it helps you hear the chord and what note you help start on. So this is just an exercise for the tonic, and then we'll start of the do, mi, so, mi, do. Now, as I mentioned before, in music, for humanity, the first 2 notes that every kid learns, everybody can sing, is so and mi. That's why we say, that's mi, mi, so, mi, mi, so. Or uh-oh, uh-oh, that's also mi, so, right? And that's so, mi, so, mi. That's the first notes that every kid in the entire world and all history learns, is that minor third of so and mi. And so we just have to get it back into our ear because that's something that's very familiar to us. Let's continue with the warm-up. Let's do a sigh on oo again. And ooh. And again, what I like to feel is that you're creating space behind here. It's death for your voice to extend out this way or to feel like you're extending like this. And what you want to do is extend the space back here and just like a laser, take all the light energy, but focus it. And so your mouth and your placement focus it, but to create the space and the power, we have to think back here. So let's do a sigh nu again to expand that space. Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, 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 zing-a-mama. Zing, zing-a-ma-ma. Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, zing, zing. Now, what we talk about oftentimes in rehearsal is to have very lean, agile consonants. Not only connected, but also agile and lean. So we're going to do this to try to get your lips as energized as possible. Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, zing, zing. Here we go. 1, 2, and down. Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, zing, zing. 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 Zing-a-mama, zing-a-mama, zing-a-mama. I knew I was gonna screw up. I knew it. I was trying so hard. How many of you had one of those was a mess up before that? Or so far? Yes. Yeah. It's actually really, I have to concentrate quite a bit. Let's try it there. Zing-a-mama, right? 2 and Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, zing, zing. Last one. Zing-a-mama, 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 zing, zing, zing. Okay. Now. Zea. ze-ah. So this is great because you can actually see how close. You wouldn't go ze-ah, but I'm thinking upwards this way, and I'm not going ze-ah, not like I'm a raptor trying to eat something, right? But I want to go ze-ah. Ze is also, do you see that I'm lifting up my upper lips to try to get a little brightness to the teeth. Ze-ah, I'm not spreading, but I am lifting. Ze-ah. Right? And Ze-ah. Let's take a sigh on ooh. And last, this is sort of evidence of when you're on the voice. I want you to pretend you're an actor or actress and say, I am a singer, right? And this means you're on your voice. Right? Let's try it together. I am a singer, right? When you speak in that orative fashion, you're on your support and you're using the right side of your brain. When you have, what was that? The King's Speech? Was that the name of the movie about that stutterer, right? And when people who stutter orate and they pretend they're narrating with voice and intention, they don't stutter because instead of speaking, which is on the left side of the brain, they switch to the right side of the brain. And so with support, with this intention of being on your voice, to sing like that with that manner, you're really engaging a different part of your brain. Okay? Let's take out some music and actually engage with the music now. And it's going to be the Agnus Dei, the fifth movement. Beautiful. Okay? So, when we're starting at the beginning of here, Agnus Dei. The same thing. Don't try to glide between Agnus Dei, but we want to change and keep the vowels as pure as possible with the shifts between them to be very short. So we're going to sing together, everybody on the tenor line. Agnus Dei qui tolli. And I want you to maintain that spun, beautiful line, but also think about these quick transitions that happen. Let's start one full bar before bar 7. So I will start bar 6, and I want everybody to sing, even though basses, it's a little high, so feel free to take it down the octave. But this is really for the same thing that we always talk about, that there's just this unbroken, beautiful line of music that we're singing. And what we're trying to do is make the line uninterrupted as possible. The consonants are small but quick, and the vowels are long and connected. Okay? Bar 6. Now remember, at bar 17, 18, 19, bar 19, the orchestra will play your notes before you get there. But the key is to really find where these notes come from. Sopranos is not that bad because they play the first note. Altos, and then tenors, bar 19. And again, Agnus, not Agnus, but Agnus. And basses. Now, Now, again, the shape. I think about the shapes of these vowels. Anus. Let's try that together and try to use our hands to really visualize the shape. We can go anus. Right? Everybody try it together? Well, you can do anus dei and anus dei quitones. And anus dei, anus dei quitones. Let's try that together. Starting from bar 19, bass line, tenor, altos, sopranos, right? 1, 2, 3. It's so gorgeous. It gets a little funny chromatically, but then it comes out so beautifully and that transition's very beautiful. So let's start from bar 19. Tenors, altos, sopranos. And all we're going to do is anus, dei, anus, dei. And again, it's like you're sort of bending over each time. So this is not only for notes, but also shapes, and to get sort of this idea of repetition and sighing generally into our voices. Basses, anus, dei. Tenors, anus, dei. Altos, anus, dei. That's a big jump there. Anus, dei. And then anus, dei for the sopranos. Let's try that. And we're just going to repeat it over and over again, as if we're penitent. We're just praying over and over again. Right? 1, 2, 3. And again. Now, when we bridge out of that, there's something in music we call 1-1-2 or 2-2-4. And that is a phrase length. We do something, we repeat it, and then we have something twice as long. It happens all the time. You have one short phrase, you repeat that phrase, and then you have a long phrase. This is exactly what happens here. Repeat again. So let's try this now. We're going to start again from the same place, bar 19. Basses, tenors, altos, sopranos. But we're going to go on, and I want you to think like we did last week. Those shapes. Ta-dum, pa-dum, pa-da, grow to there. Repeat again. Pam, pa-dum, ta-dum, pa-da, grow to there. So we have very clear shapes. Again, those pitches. Basses, tenors, altos, sopranos. It's a real cool chord. It's a very jazzy chord, you know. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Anus, dei, anus, dei. Repeat again. Quitones, peccatam. So gorgeous. So let's break this down again. What we want to do is have sopranos and altos from the beginning. And what I want the altos to do is focus on the shapes of the notes, even though your notes don't change that much. So the sopranos, they build in height, and so it's very natural for them to grow. For the altos, it stays almost on the same pitch sometimes, and I want you to still build on that feeling of growing. Altos and sopranos. Ti, tom. Okay, let's try that together. Alto, starting from bar 19. Alto note, soprano note, and again, all about the shapes, all about the consonants, and see if we can get the pitches too. 1, 2, 3. Anus, quitolis, peccatam. Let's try the basses and tenors. The same thing. However, basses also have that sense of expansion too, right? So you want to get, when you go de, I don't want you to go to an E vowel. It tends to be spread. I want you to sing I. So de, anus, de, I. Instead of E, I want you to sing an I vowel up there, okay? Let's try this. Tenors and basses. That's there's a place for us. Ready? Here we go. Tenors and basses. 1, 2, 3. Anus Dei. And quitolis. I love that very ending. Let's sing that again. Actually, let's do tenors and basses starting from bar 28, the very end of this. Listen to this first. A beautiful little third duet there. Okay, bar 28. Tenors and basses. Bass 2s, baritones, tenor 1s, tenors, all tenors. 1, 2, 3. Now, make sure that your qui isn't too big. Quiem, you want to change through that quickly. Last time, all 4 voice parts, starting from bar 19. Basses, tenors, altos, sopranos. Ready? Again, shapes, long lines, and feel the warm expansion of the notes. Okay? I'm going to play all your voice parts first, and then we'll do it again with the orchestra. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Anus Dei, Anus Dei. Great. This time, I'm going to play the orchestra part alone, and you sing the voice parts. But I want to start from the very beginning of this, starting from bar 6. So we transfer ourselves from the chant-like melody of the tenors. Imagine in that reverberant church that the tenor line is just reverberating in the entire space, and then this beautiful chord, the chorus of sopranos, altos, tenors, basses, all come in and say, Agnus, Dei, quitolis, Lamb of God, who taketh away the sins of the world. Oh, that's great because I can see you and I can see my hands are so much bigger now. Okay, great. Bar 6. Bar 6. Everybody singing the tenor line. You are all going to be singing the chant. And then let's break out into the harmonies and unus. Remember that I'm going to be playing the orchestra part, so you're going to hear the chord before you sing on the next beat. So don't get thrown off thinking that I'm playing your notes before you actually get to it. Okay? Here we go. Bar 6. Here we go. 2, 3. Here we go. You know, and I feel like, especially because we are in a Zoom session like this and isolated, you can hear and feel the anxiety of that one section. And then it eases back out into the most glorious music that the orchestra continues there. And it's very symbolic because, you know, it's winding our way through these complexities of the chromatic harmonies and lines. And it comes out to this beautiful, again, instrumental line that goes through. So when we do this with the recording, before we take a break in a little bit, not for a little while, but it's going to be more enveloping because you're going to be hearing the chorus along with you, and then, of course, the orchestra there too. So it's actually going to be, I think, an easier experience. Let's go on to bar 32. Bar 32, and we talked about the differences of this. This actually crescendos a little bit earlier, but of course, if you listen to the orchestra part, it's really funny because it just repeats itself over and over again. If I start from bar 30, I wasn't just repeating myself, that's actually the music. The music itself repeats itself, but your chant is what changes it. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi, dona eis requiem. Remember that same push and pull. Agnus, you have it here. Dona. Grant, give us rest. Everybody starting from bar 32. I'm going to start from bar 30, but everybody come in bar 32. Okay? Everybody singing the tenor line. And here we go. Ask. Great. And we'll get to that part in just a second. Let's just finish off this one beautiful, beautiful, beautiful section. I always feel like, who is it? Please, sir, may I have some more? You know, dona eis requiem. Now, what ends up happening is that most people do this. Dona eis requiem. You know, you don't give enough breath. One is 3 notes. The other one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 3 beats, right? Plus 2 beats. It's quite a bit longer. Dona, save your breath. Dona eis requiem. Angela, can you bring me some water?
Yes.
Bar 41, sempiternam requiem, as smooth as possible. As smooth as possible. Starting from bar 30 once more, and come in on bar 32. Thank you, Donna Aqua. Italiano. Dove Aqua. Okay, let's do bar 30. Sorry. And ask. Now long phrase. Now sustain. Now, this is a really fun part. What I want to do is we're gonna have, well, you can, everybody sing it because it's fun. You can be the light of the world that saves us all, right? Every single one of you, right? But when we sing the Lu, what we want to do is make it the most pure vowel of all time. So Lu, Lu. Now, in English, the way we pronounce things, L is a big glide that uses up your entire tongue and goes L. But in European languages, L is almost like a D. It's a little flip, Lu. And so I want you to think of it the same thing like that. I want the L to be as lean as possible, and it's just like this piercing little pinprick of light that just, and then it spreads everywhere, right? So everybody just try saying Lu, 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 and see how little you can get that tongue to hit the top of your teeth, hit the back of the top of your teeth, top teeth. Lu, Lu, Lu. Now try to make it big. Lu, Lu, Lu. Oftentimes there's a vowel in like the Slavic languages, Russian, etc., that uses a very thick Lu, 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 right? And we're doing the exact opposite. Try to make it as lean as possible. Lu, Lu. And everybody should be able to sing this note because this is middle, the C, either middle C or the octave above. Or we're just going to sing Lu. And I want you to think about this note, unlike every other time we think about note, which is its direction, but this note is just going to hang. Very little vibrato, very pure, ooh, elongated sound. But what ends up happening is I want you to put the tiniest crescendo on A and start adding vibrato there. So it's Lu, re, te. And then, of course, everybody else comes in the chord, okay? So it's going to sound like this. Now, these chord progressions, again, like we talked about last week, are perfectly normal chords used in bizarre ways, and as a result, the notes get a little funny. So let's take it apart for a second. Basses. You go from an octave to a fifth to a third. And then same thing, octave to a fifth to a third. Octave to a fifth to unison. Same thing. See the pattern? Octave, fifth, third. Octave with an extra note, third. So bass twos from this is bar 59 have a really funky line. So when you go from 59 to 60, there's an extra note. Tenors, you're generally unison except for thirds, right? So if you start from bar, I can't read my handwriting, 47, tenors. You see this? You have third, Third, the tenor twos drop down a half step. And then the tenor twos drop another half step. Unison. Unison. It's actually really satisfyingly written out voice leading, right? Let's try that, just the tenors and basses together. Sopranos and altos, you feel free to sing whatever line you want. Feel free to pretend you're a bass or pretend you're a soprano if you're not a soprano. Vice versa, sing whatever you want. We're going to be playing the tenors and basses line for this chord progression. Bass 2, bass 1, tenor 2, tenor 1. 1, 2, 3. We haven't got to that part yet. But it's just, there's something so gorgeous about it. Oftentimes we talk about the circle of fifths, right? We talk about the circle of fifths oftentimes as this chord progression. And we hear it a lot in Baroque music and everything. This is not that, but it sounds so satisfying. So let's try the altos and sopranos together because they're not broken up in voice parts. But I'm going to start sopranos on bar 47. So it's going to be in the middle of your word, okay? And then you see you have this beautiful duet. Third. Okay? And repeat. So let's do that sopranos and altos starting from bar 47. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Even more. I can't help but go on because the music gets more intense there. Let's try all 4 voice parts together, hearing this beautiful chord progression that starts off, that's transformed by the light that you all are. So actually, why don't we go back so we can get the note change from bar 32 again. We'll sing the tenor line that leads us to the sopranos. Everybody can feel to be the light of the world. We are the light. We are the children. How's that song? Okay, 32. And then we're going to continue on to this beautiful chord progression and sing to wherever we'll stop. Okay, bar 30. I'm going to start on bar 30, so we have 2 bars of music before you start singing. Crescendo and such a gorgeous section. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous section. Okay, so the hard part, as always, is going back to the light of the sopranos, is finding your first pitch. And this is why I wanted to do that little exercise at the very beginning of the warm-up, is that if I play this chord, if you can sing do, mi, so, mi, do, your note is one of those notes. It's either do, basses, altos, that's your note. Mi is the soprano's notes. The soprano's not a hard note to find. Tenors is not a hard note to find because the sopranos are singing it. So is the tenor twos. So if you can hear this chord in your mind, do, so, mi, do, you can find your opening pitch for that chord. Even though it's really rich and you're like, oh crap, I'm not sure if I'm starting on the right pitch, and if I'm starting on the wrong pitch, then the entire thing is ruined, and etc. But if the goal is to find out how to be able to hear that opening pitch, what I want to do is start from 45, right? This chord. And then while we're holding that, I'm going to play this, and then see if you can sing your note. And you sing do, mi, so, mi, do, and then whatever one you are. Again, altos and basses are the do, sopranos and tenor twos are mi, and then the tenor ones are so. Okay, so let's do that again. Let me pick a different chord. Let's do this chord. Okay, do, do, mi, so, mi, do. So we can do this chord. Right? I'm playing the chord wrong, but you can hear that. You can hear your note within that chord. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. Do, mi, so, mi, do, and then you can sing the chord. Whatever chord that you want. Okay? So now that I've migrated away from the chord, let's try this from bar 45. And then I'm going to play your chord before you sing it, like maybe on bar 46 on the downbeat. And then I'm going to play it again where you're supposed to enter and see if you can get the opening pitch of your chord. Just going to start on that chord. Bar 44 into 45. This is a chord. And then basses, tenors, altos. So, like I said last week, the goal is to be able to hear in your head the new chord that comes through. And then once you get that and you know your function of the note within that chord, it should be a little bit easier to figure out how to find that note. So that's the key on how we try to figure out these notes. So let's try this again. From 44, is here where we have the chords. And we're going to sing through 45 to the section all the way that we got to, okay, to the end of this particular section. And then look at the very end of this movement, the Requiem Aeterna that comes back, okay? And sing to the end. Okay, 44 again. Sopranos. 2, 3, this is the chord you're hearing in your head. End. I want to, before we take our break, before we sing through it, before we take our break, sing through the ending part. Because like I said last time, This dark, slow opening music that returns here suddenly changes to major, and it becomes really, really gorgeous symbolically, right? So even though we didn't spend as much time figuring out the notes between, let's say, bar 60 to 70 or so, we'll still have weeks to do that, so don't worry if you're having trouble finding those notes within the chord. Let's go to bar 75. Then from within this chord, ready, here we go. You have do, me, so, me, do. When it's minor, we sing me instead of me. Do, me, so, me, do. And again, your note is one of those notes. Do, bass 2, me, bass 1, tenor 2, tenor 1, alto, soprano. Sopranos are so, altos are me, tenor 1s are do, tenor 2s are so, bass 1s are me, and bass 2s are do. Okay? So from the single note, you can get all your note, and again, from that note emerges the chord. Let's start from bar 75. 2 and 3 and 4. Here we go. And then major, tenor 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and So let's look at that. This music that becomes so dark becomes to be very, very gorgeous at the end. It eases into the beauty of this movement, the Agnus Dei. So the chord changes at the end are really important. So when we have that change, for me it's a page turn between bar, let's say 81, you have, that's the same, but here, and then more significantly, this chord change from bar 84 into 85. Everybody in the entire audience and the chorus and orchestra knows that something crazy is happening, right? And then this chord. So let's break that down a little bit, and then we'll sing through it. Again, we are only on our second rehearsal on this movement, so don't feel too worried if you feel like there's some things that you're still not quite getting. That's perfectly fine. It's only been the second rehearsal. But I want to see if we can start listening and hearing this weird chord change. Let's start from bar 81, the music that's Et lux perpetua. That's very similar. Luceat. It's not luceat, but luceat. Bar 81. Bar 81. Bass 2s, bass 1s, tenor 2s, tenor 1s, alto, and soprano. I'm going to play the 1 and 2, right? And here we go. 1 and crescendo 2. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and ease into it. So yeah. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. So let's listen, let's sing through, and I'm going to conduct this movement with recording. And this is the first time we've sung through with recording this movement. So all of a sudden, you're going to hear the chorus sing your parts. You're going to hear the orchestra. It's a very nice sound all together. Okay. So I'm going to, yes. Okay, here we go. So, no, wait. I don't want to share, right? I want to just share the sound so we can actually, let me see if I can do this. So I'm going to play this, but you're going to hear the music in the background, I think, right? So is this working, but you can see me? Does it sound okay? And then everybody sing in the chant. Oh, such a beautiful, beautiful work. Still working out sound. I think I got some notes that the sound is almost there, but we can see the visual, so we have to figure out how that makes it work. But it's just one of the most enveloping pieces of music that I know. And again, those chord progressions are so satisfying. And to really feel them with the richness, I think I think the sound quality when I share the sound is better than when I share the visual, but we're going to try to work it out. We'll try it out a little later. Any case, we're going to take a break now for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and look a little bit at the Liberame, and hopefully get some sectionals. So, any case, feel free to unmute. I'm going to remove Spotlight so we can go off into Gallery View if you go into Gallery View, and feel free to unmute.
Hi, anyone, everyone. It's Chris. Hi.
Hi, Chris. I still have some mugs.
Oh, you still have some mugs.
They're in my car. Would you like some?
Oh, another thing to stuff in the basement?
No, I could. Well, I have everybody's attention. I have pencils and mugs that I could deliver to your house if you're not too far away. I guess I'd like to clean out the back of my trunk.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't be in your trunk.
It's only been how long?
It's only been 8 months.
8 months. Amateur.
What's another few months? Anyway, but I did think that might be a nice Christmas present if you want a mug or a pencil. It's early. But
Are they BCCO mugs?
yeah, BCCO mugs.
What
Yeah.
color do you have?
I have green, eggplant, black,
You have orange?
and blue, and a royal blue,
Ooh, those are nice.
and orange.
Oh.
Orange, yeah.
Email me. I'll put my email in the chat.
They're great. They're the most comfy mugs. They're just the right size. The
Yeah.
handles are just right. They're perfect. Yeah, I ordered them.
Yeah. When I saw you, Chris, it reminded me. I wasn't thinking of making an announcement.
That's
Chris
okay.
was my partner in
Yeah.
shopping.
Partner in products.
Yeah.
Partner in product. Just put it in the chat if you're interested in a mug.
What color? What color?
Orange.
Oh, and put in the chat.
You know what I should do? Okay, I'll next week I'll have pictures. I should have pictures.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good
Or I
marketing.
I can send you probably some pictures.
Yeah, I don't have. They're in the
I
trunk
have
of
the
the car.
green.
It's okay, we're not there.
Anyway.
That's good.
I'm wondering, has anybody evacuated according to our phone advice?
Nope. I was up 1 a.m. thinking we were going to evacuate. I kept thinking, "Where's the wind? Where's the wind?"
We had wind in San Francisco. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Around midnight, 1 o'clock, it was really blowing.
Where are
It
they?
was okay.
Yeah,
In
no.
the midst of this,
And down in the flats.
Okay.
Yeah.
in the midst of this, Richmond had a chemical spill.
Oh,
So
great.
there were all these announcements of be prepared to evacuate, and
Oh.
then there were more saying, never mind. You
I
still
know
can't
that. I
see
could feel the
anything
house shaking a little bit last night
Yeah.
from the wind.
because the wind was blowing pretty hard.
Wow.
Where did you hear that, Roberta?
It was on the phone. This was Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, sure.
And there were pictures. It was on all of AV.
No one who's here has had power turned off?
No thanks.
Not yet.
Oh,
I think you would have known if they were going to.
My
well,
power is off.
Lafayette, Marinda, and San Leandro.
yeah.
Power off.
My power is off right now, actually.
Our relatives in Montclair have been without power for 24 hours now.
Oh, really?
Oh.
It may be back on soon because I think they said they were going to turn it off for 24 hours and they started around 8 o'clock last night.
What
We
did they
still
do
off
to
this
occupy
afternoon.
themselves?
So one of the kids was over at our house doing his remote school.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah, you can't do it without electricity.
Yeah, we know remote schooling quite well. Those are actually doing pretty well with it. So, but in any case, let's come back. And we're gonna look at.
Ming, before you leave tonight, can you please lift that beautiful piece of art off the wall behind you and show us the girl's photo? We've all been staring at it. Okay.
Right.
Really cute.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Lowly Gardens? Oh, Gamble Gardens, which is in Palo Alto. This is my favorite one. This is actually hers, but you can't see. But is that Violet when she was really young?
Oh,
My parents' house, though, right? My parents. You know.
Nice.
What do they play now, Ming? What do they play when they play for you?
Violet plays violin, and she has a little mini recital coming up, I think. I think her teacher has a little recital. And Julie plays the piano.
Ah.
And so we're going to make Laurel play the cello. So we have a little.
That'd be nice. And you'll play the kazoo?
What's that?
You'll play the kazoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Get her a viola da gamba, it would be smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's a piccolo violin. There's a piccolo violin, which is kind of cute.
Yeah.
Oh. It's the same intonation as a violin, I think, but maybe it's a bit higher. But it's really, really tiny, but it's a full-size, tiny instrument.
That's great.
So I'm going to pass it off to Julian now. We're looking at the Liberame, which means liberates, right? Free us, free me. But it's this amazing work, and it's one of the darker movements that I think that Julia's going to talk about. But it's where the dies irae actually starts to actually pop up, which is actually completely out of order, because as we know, the middle movement and the Agnus Dei actually usually go after the dies irae. But Julia, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hello and welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. We are
Oh, there you are.
on the dies irae. Let us. Oh, can everyone hear me? Is my sound okay?
Yes.
Great, excellent, thank you. So we'll open to measure 92. So we're going to start towards the end and work on the Liberame at the end. I learned the Fauré Requiem, the first time I sang it was in high school, and I heard the bass solo at the top of this movement, and I thought to myself, oh dang, I wish I was a bass so that I could sing. But as it turns out, we actually all have the chance to sing this beautiful phrase at the end. So exactly, beautiful. Let's also, by the way, since that sounded so beautiful, but let's make sure that we're all muted so when we start singing together, we can actually sing together. So go through and mute if you unmuted during the break. Excellent, thank you. All right, so starting at measure 92, and let's just take a read through. I think many of us know this section, but let's just take a read through, and if you don't know it, do your best, and we'll just sing through until the end of this beautiful section. Starting at measure 92, where we're all on unison. Libero. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Liberame Domine de morte eterna, in die tremenda, in die quando cieli moventi sunt, quando cieli moventi sunt, et terra, dom veneris iudicar.
哦
Ore seculum, Eri, Amen. 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 so satisfying, at times so dramatic. It's so fun to sing. So let's turn back to measure 92, and we're going to take this apart kind of phrase by phrase and look at this. So let's all sing measure 92 on new and stop at the first rest we have. So that's that kind of first phrase that we have. Measure 99 is where we're going to stop. And we're going to sing on new and do what we've done before and subdivide our beats. So we're going to sing new, 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 new. And I want you to accent where those eighth notes are so that we make sure we're giving them enough time and not either throwing them away or giving too much time. You know, we're giving them the perfect amount of time. So once again, it's going to sound like no, 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 no. So you're kind of accenting those eighth notes. All right, everyone singing with me. Ready and go. No, 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 no. Woo, long phrase. Excellent. So let's do that one more time. Just the first four measures, just to really lock in those eighth notes. So just the top of those first four measures again, so that we get those eighth notes on the subdividing. So we're subdividing and saying the eighth note on no, 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 no. One more time. Ready and go. No, 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 no. And that's it, just that much. Now, this is marked piano dolce, and I think the beauty and the glory of this whole movement comes from the legato that we've been working so hard on all the other movements as well. This is a rather dramatic section and dramatic line, but the beauty of it and the strength comes from the connection. So singing now on just one long nu, just say nu, only re-articulate the N only when you switch notes. So no, 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 no. So only re-articulating when you would re-articulate a word per se. Here we go. That whole first phrase again on the nu, focusing on getting that connection. So it's not nu, no, 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 no. You can sing through the N because it's a voiced N sound. So use the N to your advantage. Here we go. Ready and breathe. No, 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 off. And that very last note, I think, has a tendency to go a little bit flat because we're like, oh, you know, we reached the end of the phrase and we're almost out of breath. So make sure to stay really engaged. Draw an up arrow on that note if you need to remind yourself, or maybe 4 or 5 up arrows as you sing through it. So when you come back down, no, no, no. And I actually want us to do this time. We're going to start from that top of that section again, measure 92. When we get to that very last note, I want us all to take a finger and go, no, to remind us to keep it nice and high and engaged and lifted. All right, here we go. Ready and breathe. No, 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 no. All right, excellent. I think it's such a beautiful phrase. Moving on now to that next section. So right where we just stopped, measure 99. One more time, let's start with a new sound, but focusing one more time on re-articulating whenever there's a note change. No, 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 no. And use the N to your advantage for that high leap. Just sing through this one more time to get the, to remind us how it goes. Ready, 2, 1. No, 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 no. That very very last couple of measures there, that last 4 measures, as you can see, has that crescendo into mezzo forte, decrescendo out, back into the piano sound. And I think what really kills the moment is if you were to crescendo way too fast, and also gets too soft way too fast. So it's a matter of gauging it. And so you know that you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 beats to kind of crescendo, and then only 1 beat or so to actually decrescendo after that, 1 to 2. But really, think, instead of trying to crescendo, think about leaning into that downbeat. And I think that will help. Actually, can we all do that? What I just did with my hands, the conductory thing that I just did. So you're moving forward on the crescendo and then back on the decrescendo. Everyone do that with me as you sing. Here we go. Ready, and go. Excellent. And the next thing that's kind of tricky about this section in general, not just gauging the crescendo decrescendo, but also anytime you have a note that you decrescendo on, a long held note that you either crescendo or decrescendo on, there's a tendency for it to either go sharp or flat. Sharp on the crescendo, flat on the decrescendo. So that's even a little bit more work. I see a question about measures. We're looking at particular measure 104. 103 into 104 in DA ELA. This time, same thing, I want us to do that, moving into and moving out of the decrescendo, but thinking more this time about trying to make sure we're matching that pitch and not relaxing any of that support as we sing it. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. All right, beautiful. I saw lots of hands, which is great. Excellent. Let's back up a little bit now and look at the beginning of this phrase. So measure 99 now. We're looking at the no, 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 no. Anytime you have an octave jump like this, where it's marked piano, the tendency is just to go no, 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 because it's a high jump, right? But instead, I want you to think about crescendoing that bottom note. That will help you get more engaged with your support as you jump up to the high note. No, 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 no. So that it's a little bit of a softer, it cushions that attack on that high note. Instead of making it more of an attack, it cushions it a little bit. So everyone try that with me. Just try to crescendo that A of DA. In D, so that it helps you jumping up to that high note. We'll sing on new, and then we'll sing through until so we get that whole section. Okay, 1, 2, 1. No, no, no. Thank you, excellent. I heard someone's beautiful voice, but then I saw that you muted yourself again. Thank you, excellent. Thank you also for that question. So I'm singing along, this is all unison. So tenors, you're singing down here. Along with the basses. So you're singing in unison with the basses. And in unison with the sopranos and altos, who are an octave higher. So tenors and basses are an octave away from the sopranos and altos. Thank you for the question. I am monitoring the chat, by the way, if anyone does have questions about stuff. Excellent. I think also what will help us with that top note is also that when you start the phrase, don't start it thinking, oh, I'm in a very comfortable and easy place in my voice. No, no. Instead, start it knowing that you have a higher note coming up, because that'll help you with that leap and help you with the placement. If you think about taking a breath and immediately finding that kind of buzz that you get when you sing on the N. No, 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 as opposed to just a relaxed no, 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 no. It's a little bit harder to get up there. So take a breath into the space that you know you need for the high note. Okay, let's start from measure 99, sing through this whole like 8-bar section with that crescendo, decrescendo happening as well. Here we go. 1, 2, breathe. No, 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 no. And now let's go ahead and continue on for this next section. Looking ahead though, looking at the next phrase. You'll notice that it's marked piano again, so we decrescendoed back to piano. And our next phrase, halfway through 107, begins softly. But then 2 measures later, there's a crescendo written, and then a couple measures later, you see another written out crescendo into forte. So this is another kind of really long crescendo section, and as I mentioned before, I think there's nothing worse, there's nothing that kills a musical phrase more than getting too loud too soon. So really pace yourself, and I think it might actually help to write out dynamics as we've done before, especially in the first movement. So write out, say in measure 109, that you should be piano plus because your crescendo starts there. And then 110, you should maybe be mezzo piano-ish. And then 112, you should be mezzo forte. And then 114, that's where you hit that forte. That's where you hit your loudest moment of that phrase. So note that writing that into your score might help you kind of pace that long crescendo. So let's go ahead and sing it one more time on new, finding that nice, one of the reasons why we use new is not just to find that legato sound, but also it helps you find your resonance. So the N sound is really similar to humming and should help you find a buzz. No, no, no. And it helps you find more of a forward placement, that kind of engagement in forward space. So see if you can find that as we sing through this next phrase until the next rest at 115. Starting at 107, beat 2. Here you go. 1, 2, breathe. No, 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 and stop there for a minute. I know it's really hard not to go on. That jump there at the no, no. Make sure to keep that lower note nice and strong. Don't sing no, no, just because you're jumping down in range. Make sure you have to work hard on that lower note to make sure it's nice and strong and doesn't lose that engagement of that phrase. So I would write even like circle it or write an F above it as well, or an arrow going towards it to remind you to sing through it. Keep the dynamic going through that section. So let's do that one more time, that whole phrase, starting at 107. Before we do, just a couple of things. One thing to point out, if you're using the version that we printed online, you might see some strange rhythms from measure 109, where it says movendi sunt. So the vendi, the first note should be a dotted half note, and then you have a quarter note. So it's not. So just get rid of that first quarter note that's written in there. In case that's confusing you for the rhythm. Here's our first note for the quando c'è libero, and we'll sing on new, still focusing on getting that connection. Here we go, 1, 2, 1. No, 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 and the other thing I have to say before we move on, I think it's also really tempting to go no, no, where there's a break in between. No, no. You still want to connect those two notes a little bit and have that legato feel as well through that. Let's begin one more time, that whole phrase, because it's so satisfying to sing. I hope you enjoy singing it. This time, instead of thinking about, finding that long crescendo, one other thing that might help you is there's a lot of kind of moving notes into the downbeat of the next measure. So, those moving notes into that next downbeat might help you gauge your crescendo and help you know, oh, when I sing this section into the next downbeat, I should be a little bit louder. So crescendo through those moving notes, that might help you get a nice, more gauged or relaxed crescendo through that. And this time, we're gonna sing through. I know that we've all wanted to keep singing when we hit 115. We're gonna sing through this time. So go ahead, we'll start at 107, still on new, singing through that, and then keep going, nice and strong. Here you go, 1, 2, 1. Breathe. I think the trickiest thing about this last phrase and this last section, measures 115 on to the end where we just ended, is that it's fortissimo and it doesn't decrescendo at all. So it says fortissimo, and then at least on my version, turning the page and looking at measure 119, it says sempre, meaning like always. So you're still that nice strong fortissimo sound. It never gets softer, even though you're dropping down the range after that. No, no, no. You still have to keep that really big sound. No, 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 no. That note also, no, no. Really loud until the end, even though there are a lot of jumps happening in this section. Before we do that whole thing again, can we take a look at measure 119 into 120? No, 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 no. I think this note has a tendency to kind of pop out of the texture a little bit, as it should because it's an unexpected note, I suppose. But what we don't want to do is punch it. We don't want to punch it. No, 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 no. Right? Just because it's a higher note doesn't mean it should pop out like that. No, 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 no. You can use, in this case we're using N, so, and really sing through the N on the new, but there's an L in that word, and you can kind of use the L to cushion the attack of that note. Or, as we talked about before, take the note before it and crescendo through that to help you leap up to that higher note. No, 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 no. So that it's a little bit more of a more connected. So let's start right on measure 119. Actually, we'll start on that second quarter note, so I'll give you a 1, and then we'll sing through the end, keeping strong when we drop down back to the inyam on the E and the D. Here we go, 1, 2, go. No, 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 no. Off. One more thing to look about before we kind of go over this whole section again and sing through it with all that we've worked on. When you sing that phrase at 107, that building phrase that crescendos into those high notes, and then you have a moment where you take a rest, it's really tempting to just kind of fall back a little bit in your dynamics and become a little softer on your next entrance. But in 115, you really have to make sure that after your breath, the Dom Veneris is nice and strong. So just because you're taking a breath doesn't mean the phrase is stopping or the momentum is stopping. So take a breath in, springboard yourself into that next section. Just to practice that, we'll start from 107, this time focusing on getting that crescendo that we talked about through that first phrase. Then right at 115, take a breath that springboards you and doesn't lose momentum. And then stay strong that whole way, strong and connected. There is a strength in connectivity and legato. All right, 107, this section one more time. Here we go. 1, 2, 1. All right, let's go back to the top of the section. So turning back to 92, and this time add on the words if you feel comfortable with them, and try singing along with the words, and see if we can, I mean, we talked about a lot, on like a lot of small things about all of these smaller phrases, but focus on the dynamics and the connectivity. So even though now we're adding the words that have consonants, and it's not just an N sound that you can sing through, see if you can still get that connection, and don't let the consonants break the line. But also, you can use some consonants actually to your advantage. So for example, li, L, you can use that li as a pitched note before you come in. Liberame Domine. Really lean into the D of Domine. Free me, O Lord, from eternal death. Demo, demo. You can use the M too. De morte eterna. So in general, if it's kind of a pitched sound, you can sometimes lean into it just a tiny bit. Not too much, because you don't want to break the vowel too much, but it just gives it a little extra like pleading feeling to it, and disquieted and pleading feeling. So, all right, let's actually, I recommend that we stand, because the octave leaps are really, really more helpful when you stand. And one thing else that I will recommend too, I'll stand with you if I can see if I can play while also doing this, but one thing I recommend is, especially for the octave leap, starting at measure 99, if you get some movement into it, it actually is really helpful. So if you push down and up represents your range that you're going up, and down represents the support that's guiding you. That actually helps with your support a little bit, that kinetic movement, kinesthetic. I forgot which one that I'm supposed to use. Okay, yeah. But you know, the movement really helps you feel the movement of the phrase as a singer. So everyone, just trying that couple of those 4 measures there, 99 through 102, just to get that movement. Here we go. 1, 2, 1. And just, I mean, for me, even doing that little movement and standing makes a big difference, because it activates your support, and it gives you a little bit more oomph and motivation as we sing through it. All right, so let's start from measure 92. I'm actually going to sit, because I don't think I can play the piano and stand at the same time. And we will sing through this whole section, starting soft, but still with intention and connection. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, breathe. Liberame Domine de morte I love seeing thumbs up, snaps. Excellent. I love it. All right, let's take a look at the ending of this section. It has a very similar feel to like the ending of the first movement, with that like coming to rest kind of feeling. But it has such like a pleading feeling. This whole movement just has like a pleading feeling to it. So looking at measure 131, this is your next entry. Well, actually, before that, if you take a look at 124, right where we just stopped, our bass soloist gets to sing and close out this section for us. Liberame Domine de morte eterna. Let me come in. And that's a really long note that we keep singing and we keep singing because it's really long. And it's not only is it tied, but there's also a fermata and there's a lot going on. So that very last note that you sing that's really long, the same thing I mentioned earlier, anytime you have a long note like that, arrows up, connection, don't forget, don't just feel because it's a long note, or sorry, that it's a lower note and more comfortable note, don't feel like you can relax just because of that. Singing any note always takes some kind of engagement and support. So let's take this in parts because those are some fun chords that we get to sing. So let's take first the altos and sopranos. So the first couple of notes that the first two measures, liberame, then you split. And then you come back to unison again for a really long note. And underneath you have and then a fermata. I think the tricky thing with this singing, you know, with a live chorus with all parts is actually finding that unison note again after you're coming back after that split. So altos and sopranos, if you didn't sing along with me this time, or last time, do it with me now. Here we go. Liberame. 1, 2, go. And keep singing nice and high. Keep it engaged. Don't go flat. Off. For that last note. Sorry, I pressed the wrong pedal. I meant to press the sustain pedal and I did not. That's why there is that break in there. So tenors and basses, now let's take you. So listen first because you have quite a few more notes. You have, oh, I'm sorry, that's not correct. So tenors, you actually have quite a big jump. So you start down here, unison with the basses, and then tenors, just sing that with me. So tenor ones, you'll jump from. And then tenor ones you go, or sorry, tenor twos. So now all tenors singing along with me for that. Here we go. 1, 2, go. Really long note, don't lose pitch, stay engaged and sing through that beautiful note, and then you cut off after the fermata. And then basses. So bass ones, you get to sing that same note the whole time. That beautiful, beautiful D. And then bass twos, you jump down to. So all basses singing along with me now. Here we go. 1, 2, breathe. And then that long note, stay engaged and don't lose interest. And then you cut off after the fermata. Let's go ahead and try, actually everyone's singing along just because it's fun, from measure 124, singing the baritone solo. And the baritone does end on your first note, which is our tonic, and our do. And then when we get to your parts, go ahead and split into your voice parts, and I'm going to do my best to play the correct chord. It's going to happen. All right. Here we go. Measure 124. Here we go. Everyone's singing the baritone solo. 1, 2. Keep singing, and then fermata, keep it nice and high, and then off. All right, excellent. So that is our introduction to the Liberame. We got to sing that beautiful theme that the baritone soloist opens the movement up with, and that we get to close the movement with. And with that, I will hand it back to Ming.
Thank you, Julia. It's such a beautiful, beautiful movement. But like we were talking about sort of the structure of this piece and the fact that the baritone movements, the second and sixth movements were added later, you can see why this actually doesn't quite make sense here, right? Because think about the progressions. The fourth movement, you have the Pie Jesu. Right? This gorgeous, gorgeous movement, that's the centerpiece, the keystone of the entire work, sort of representing the philosophy that we talked about Fauré having towards requiems, right? That death is actually transferred to heaven. So why would going to heaven be a bad thing, right? And then, of course, the Agnus Dei that we just rehearsed today. And any anxiety that we felt through the harmonies, through this notes, dissipate. Even the first movement's music goes towards the, gets turned into major. This D minor gets turned into major. So if I were to play the end of the fifth movement, and skip the sixth movement, see how natural this feels. Right? It absolutely has to go from that movement to the last movement. And you can see how he originally did it. The entire thing, you know, the anxiety of the second movement, kind of wandering, trying to figure out his place, not quite ending up in the right key, but, you know, like ending up a little bit major. And then, you know, the third movement, going into the fourth movement, Pie Jesu, how, you know, sweet Jesus is a centerpiece of the Requiem. And then you go into the fifth movement, Agnus Dei, Lamb of God. And then you go directly into the Impadidisum. It's like harmonically written to do that. And then instead he goes to the Dies Irae. Right? This music here that Julia's, you know, starting the little introduction to, listen to the opening music of the orchestra. You can hear the heartbeat. Tum, pum, tum, pum, pum. Right? It doesn't quite make sense here. But the second movement has the baritone, and so as a result, the sixth movement, he wanted the structure to be correct and have the baritone on the second to last, you know, the second movement or the second to last movement. And as a result, the Liberame suddenly takes that beautiful major that we just ended the Agnus Dei and suddenly turns it minor. It's like you didn't believe anything that happened beforehand, but still it's the day of the, you know, destruction and death. And so again, Liberame, save me, Lord, like save me, Lord, de morte eterna. That's supposed to be in contrast to lux eterna, light eternal, morte eterna, death eternal. So Lord, save me from death eternal. And so that's this movement. Again, like Julia was saying, it's sort of like an ABA structure. The beginning movement music that I just played, that heartbeat comes back at the end. And that beautiful chord at the end that she just worked through all the notes and whatnot, it sort of leaves us in a dark place. It's really bizarre. So listen to the end of this movement going into the real last movement, right? Then this chord. How dark that is. Isn't that bizarre? It feels a little bit like Deus Ex Machina, that term that represents just like suddenly you're saved and it's a happy ending, and so it's just interesting. This is part of the reason why you can see the layers of how composers have created the works, because you see that fifth movement so naturally going into the seventh movement, following Fauré's philosophy and viewpoints on life and death. And then he realized, no, I'm going to add this baritone there. So it's just a really interesting combination there. Next week, we're going to be continuing to focus on the fifth and sixth movements. And it is two incredible movements. Of course, like we said, the notes for the fifth movement are quite a little bit chromatic, and though they sound wonderful, sometimes the voice leading is a little bit difficult to perceive. And then the Liberame actually has some of the more has some more quicker music. And so we didn't look at to the proper dies irae in the middle when the music actually goes quite a bit faster. But you will see that that's in the sixth movement. It's bar 53. 53. It's got it has the actual cadence of the dies irae chant. Dies irae, dies irae, la ta 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 ta. It actually has the normal cadence of this compound meter. Ta 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 pa pa. It doesn't have the exact rhythm of the text, of course, because that would be too quick. You have to make it a little bit more terrifying. But this is one of the more sort of colorful sections, darker sections of the Requiem. So we'll focus on the sixth movement and seventh movement next week. There's a question here. How was this music received by audiences? The premiere actually did not have the baritone soloists, and so the premiere was only 5 movements long. It was the first movement, third, fourth, fifth, seventh. And so basically, it was incredibly well received. Fauré was very respected. He was considered to be the greatest of French composers during his day as well as afterwards. Like I mentioned before, the very first rehearsal, he was the director of the Paris Conservatory and was considered to be one of the wise sages. And when Ravel was denied the Prix de Rome, 4 or 5 times in a row, he single-handedly transformed the entire Paris Conservatory and made it less conservative, sacked a whole bunch of professors and whatnot in the Ravel scandal, I think they called it, the Scandale Ravel. Actually, in French, that's great. Scandale Ravel. In any case, but it's he was really considered to be, upstanding, holding on to the French traditions. And even though music was splintering at that point with Debussy and Ravel, Stravinsky, right? Stravinsky, which was in Paris, much of the time. Obviously, he's Russian, but he spent much of his time in Paris and the U.S. But in any case, it's a really wonderful work, really well crafted, but as oftentimes performed so often that sometimes we just perform it because there are lovely moments and not dig into why it's so great. What is it about its craft that makes it a wonderful piece? So we're going to continue with this and maybe touch up on one of the food movements. I keep on skipping over sectionals, so promise, Paul, we will have sectionals next week and spend a little bit more time, especially with the seventh movement. Sorry, the sixth movement and the fifth movement, because those do need individual time with some of the voice parts. So we will see you next week. I have to rush off. Unfortunately, I can't stay a little bit longer for the social call, but please do stay on. It's a lot of fun to hear the conversations and people saying, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in a long time. I must have been on the wrong screen of the pages of people here, or something like that, you know. So please unmute and say, but thank you, Julia, and thank you, everybody, of course, for rehearsal.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you both.
Many thanks, everybody. That was really cool to do.
Very nice.
Good night.
Night all.
Hey, Roy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question. Did you vote?
Not yet.
Yes.
Not yet.
Yes, yes,
yes.
Oh, yes.
Don't wait too long.
Box
The postal
yesterday.
service might chuck your ballot away.
Not going to mail it.
There are drop boxes in Berkeley.
I wrote it in today.
Yep.
We don't want any surprises come November 4th.
Oh.
That would
Good luck with that.
That would
Yeah,
take the
yeah.
wind out of my sails, that's for sure.
Oh, they're going to pull all kinds of tricks out of the hat.
Scary times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to
Okay.
stay
Crazy.
nimble. We don't know what's coming.
What was that?
I think we have to stay nimble. We don't know what's coming.
You're right.
What's the,
The next
did
week- No,
did the Supreme Court nomination go through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And sworn in. They announced it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if Biden wins, he can take 2 seats off the panel.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Leo, who's that
Okay.
over your shoulder?
Hey, Sonia, how you doing?
Okay.
All right. I'm all right. Hi, Rita. How are you?